Evening, everyone. My name is Nicole Richter. I'm a community sports manager here at Medina County Board of DD. Tonight, we're joined by Alaina Bowers, who is the External Affairs Manager for the Staple account. So I just want to go over a few housekeeping items before we get started. So you'll notice that everybody is set to microphones being muted and cameras off right now, as tonight's presentation is going to be recorded. This will be posted to the MCBDD YouTube page later this week, and it will be sent out in an email later this week, along with a link to a survey to fill out. And then if you have any questions during the presentation, please go ahead and use that little Q&A feature with the question mark. That would be great. That makes it much easier to follow the questions. And I will get those relayed to Alaina at the end of today's presentation. Or if you would prefer to ask your question, you can also use that little hand raise feature. And if I see that, I will be able to give you permission to unmute your mic, and then you can ask your question. Okay, so at this point, I think I am going to go ahead and turn it over to Alaina.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I'm going to reshare my screen because sometimes when I take over, let's see if this will work. All right. Okay. Can everyone see that?
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, great. Great. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Nicole. My name is Alaina. I'm the External Affairs Manager for Stable Accounts in Ohio Treasurer's office. And I'm really excited to be here today because as we kick off a new year, there are a lot of great program updates to Stable Account that I'm excited to share with you today. So if you're joining and you've heard a little bit about the program, you might have, joined a former webinar or heard about it from the Board of DD. I know they do such a phenomenal job at advocating for our program. Or you have a Stable account, or you're a parent or a guardian or a provider joining and you want to hear some updates. I'm excited to share those today. So we're going to kind of walk through just sort of what is Stable account. We'll go through eligibility, because eligibility has changed for this year, which is exciting. And then we'll also talk about enrollment, management of funds, what you can use your funds on, and how this program supports financial empowerment for people with disabilities and medical conditions. Of course, we will talk, through sort of just the process of opening accounts as well. I want to remain as a resource to all of you. I know we're not going to get through all of the facts and figures of the program, but I definitely want to remain a resource. And Nicole can share my slide deck as well as my email address if you have additional questions about your family dynamic, or if you have an account and you have some questions about, just usage of funds. Our program is here to help all of you. So I'm excited to get started. As Nicole mentioned, please, take advantage of the Q&A in the chat afterwards if you'd like to. Sometimes when people put in Q&A, I might get to a question at the next slide or answer your question at the next slide. But in the event that we have time at the end for questions, we would love to be a resource for all of you. So I'll get through the slide deck first, and then, obviously you can put your questions and comments throughout the chat, and then we'll sort of address that at the end as much as we can. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started. I've been with the program for about 3 years now. I've been with the Ohio Treasurer's Office for over 8 years, and this is one of the most meaningful jobs I've ever had so far in my career. And I love working with the county boards of DD. So all of you that are joining, you're all with the county board of DD, obviously. So they are the hub within all the counties in Ohio that provide things like this tonight, events, engagements. They bring families together, they bring providers together. And we're fortunate enough to be part of that partnership. So I love doing this. I love to connect with families, and I want to make sure that all of you have all of the right, updates to make decisions about opening accounts. But all in all, this program is one of the most impactful programs that will help individuals with disabilities and medical conditions, because it is all about saving money, which is all we want to know about, right? So before we get into sort of what Stable is, I love to take it back to how we got here. ABLE accounts across the country are historic. They are such a meaningful opportunity for families and individuals to think about financial literacy, in a sense, Without ABLE, the ABLE Act that was passed over 10 years ago, we wouldn't have Stable. So if you've heard about Stable and you've also heard about ABLE, just know that they are essentially the same thing. Across the country, ABLE accounts are savings and investment accounts to help people with disabilities and medical conditions save and invest their money. It allows them to contribute money into this protected account, and all of the money in that account is protected from the possibility of losing eligibility for benefits like Medicaid, SSI, and even SSDI. So if you are on those benefits, or your loved one is on those benefits, or you are thinking about being on those benefits, then you will slowly learn that there are some restrictions on how much can be in your bank account. If you're currently receiving SSI, you are not allowed to have more than $2,000 at any time in your bank account. And that is why the ABLE Act was passed over 10 years ago, because it allowed these accounts, these programs to be created in every state. So there's currently over 41 ABLE programs across the country. We're proud to say that Stable and Ohio was the first state to launch an ABLE plan. So if you are, living in a different state, you can actually open a Stable account. We are a national program, so we're structured a little bit differently in the Treasurer's Office. My travel and my engagements are focused, of course, on our Ohioans. There's a lot of work to do and a lot of great engagements to be had. So I'm excited to be part of that partnership. So if you're kind of learning about what ABLE is, just know that across the country, there's many other ABLE plans that are national, but we're proud of the work that we put into our program being in Ohio as well. We also have 12 partner states, so those are shaded in blue. And as of last month, we also added Idaho. So Idaho is our 12th partner state, which we're really proud of. But like I mentioned, we have account holders in every state, and we launched over 10 years ago. Our 10th anniversary will actually be this June. So we were the first state to create an ABLE plan after the ABLE Act was passed. We have over $650 million in assets, meaning that all of those account holders, we have over 53,000 account holders across the country. Every single one of those account holders are able to save and invest and contribute a lot more money than they've ever been able to historically. So these are really empowering programs and accounts that can help individuals and their family members as well. I mentioned that our most important piece of this program is our partnerships. We always want to engage directly with our families, our account holders, our advocates, our community partners, because they have that direct connection to families. So if you are a parent and you have a loved one that is eligible for our program, you might be learning about what Stable is. You might think, oh, well, we don't really need to have this account now. We'll open it when our daughter's 18 and she's leaving the house. Or, if we're engaging with somebody who's in their 20s and they're kind of, dipping their toes into working and employment, we want to make sure that this program is extremely universal. It's very broad, and it can help a lot of different people along the way at different stages and chapters in their life, which is exciting. So the benefits of Stable account and kind of how these accounts are different than a typical bank account, like a typical checking account or a savings account at an external bank. I mentioned that the funds that are contributed into this account don't count against eligibility for those benefits we talked about, like Medicaid and SSI. As long as funds are contributed into a Stable account, that's where that protection comes in. So if you do have an external bank account at Huntington or PNC or a credit union, you can absolutely still have those accounts open elsewhere, but be mindful of some of those restrictions, especially if you're working, which we'll talk about. So the whole purpose of having a Stable account, when the ABLE Act was passed, when these programs were created, even in our ongoing outreach, we always think about the account holder. We always think about their life, how they're going to use this account, when they're going to use this account. And we love to see the account holders being able to open the account themselves, the people that are eligible. So it gives them that ownership, the self-esteem, and the financial independence to be able to say, it's my money, it's my account. I was able to open it myself. I can contribute money from my paycheck. I can have my parents put money in the account. But of course, on the flip side of that, we also work with families. I'm not a parent myself. I hope to be one someday, but I have a lot of family members and friends that have children. And I know that every chapter of life is a kind of a new hurdle and an exciting one. So when we work with families and parents, we always want to make sure that we're giving them that assurance that you can open this account for your loved one, your child, contribute as much as you want each year. By the time that that child's 18, if they're able to take over the account, they absolutely can. We have a really great transfer process. But in a lot of situations, family members may still need to take over the estate, help out with financials along the way. And we also work with providers, group homes, ICF settings, organizations that can manage accounts for people as well, which we'll talk about. But we love to see when these are ambassador programs. So I have a really sweet video of Ruthie. She's the blonde there. She's actually a family friend, and she was born with a heart condition when she was born. And along the way, I think when she was about 6, her parents opened a stable account for her because she was young. They didn't know what her life was going to look like. They had a lot of medical expenses caring for her. She had tons of surgeries on her heart and her body. And now she is 16 and she's driving and she's doing really, really well. But her parents opened the account for her, knowing that, they didn't really know what her future was going to look like. So they still manage her account because she's under 16. But by the time that she turns 18, those funds can be used on her in any capacity, obviously at college, driving, for her dorm, but she can also continue to save money on her own for even longer term goals, which is really exciting. And then the bottom picture, we also did a video with the Down Syndrome Association of Central Ohio. They're one of our biggest partners as well. And that's Kyle McKay. He's their staff photographer, and he is an incredible man. And he also has his own business. So he is able to use his stable account funds to pay for his basic living expenses. He also obviously is a photographer, so he can put it back into his business. And it's his account. He opened it, he manages it himself. And I think that that is a really beautiful thing. And this is really what the whole program is all about. So on the theme of financial empowerment, financial education, and support from families, this is another great opportunity for family members to really start thinking about long-term planning for their loved one as well. So anyone that currently has a stable account that's opened and established can accept gifts. So if you are a parent, grandparent, guardian, provider, anybody can gift currently into a stable account. Well, we're going to talk a little bit about contribution limits on the next slide, but just know that that's another easy way that you can gift money to your loved one. And then also, a lot of people know what 529 college savings plans are in the state of Ohio. Every state has a 529 college savings plan. So if you opened a savings plan for somebody, your child, your loved one, and you've put money into that account over the years, and down the road, you just feel that, hey, I don't think education's the right path for her or him, I'm going to actually, open a stable account. You can transfer up to, actually, that number should be $20,000 up for 2026, but you can contribute up to $20,000 for 2026 into a stable account. And then those funds are able to be used for different things as well. I got a comment that someone doesn't have audio, so I hope that folks can
just
hear
make sure
me.
you're checking the settings on your
Okay.
device. It's going to be device to device because
Okay.
audio is working okay on this end.
Yes. So I think I know everyone is muted, but make sure, your device's audio is turned up. And then also trusts. And I know Nicole had mentioned that the former webinar was a great overview of trust, different, estate planning. Like I mentioned, this program is all about the account holder. We love to see the account holders, the eligible self-advocates that can open the account themselves. But along the way, sometimes family members like to come in and help out if they can. So we do a lot of work with special needs trust attorneys in Ohio. We also work with Pooled Trusts, Community Fund of Ohio, and those different types of financial vehicles can be used in great collaboration with stable account. You can actually take money out of a trust and put it into a stable account and have a little bit more broad spending options as well. But it really does support overall financial goals and financial planning, which is wonderful. I would say one of also the biggest advantages of this program is the tax advantages. So any earnings in a stable account over the years, they grow tax-free. You are not paying taxes on any of the earnings in this account. And then when you go to use money out of the account, if you want to say, hey, I'm going to put a down payment on a car, I've got to pull a big, amount of money out to pay for my bills next year. any type of spending, there are no taxes paid on that, which is really, honestly, one of the best benefits that we love to advocate for. And then within Ohio, a lot of states do have similar tax deduction kind of features there. Just speaking to Ohio, contributions are deductible up to $4,000 per year. So if you are contributing into your stable account or your loved one's stable account, obviously if you're doing the full oh, the light just turned off. I knew that was going to happen. There we go. Okay. There is a tax benefit as well. So anyone that's ever done their own taxes or you're working with an accountant, there's actually a little, I've seen it on Turbo or whatever the tax company is, and there's a little thing of, did you contribute to a stable account in Ohio? And if you click that button, that's where you can put your information in. So there are some really great tax advantages, especially if you are working and you're putting your paycheck in your stable account. There are some great tax advantages as well. I'm not going to focus too much on this slide just because we do a lot of outreach to employers in Ohio and through our direct deposit feature. But if you are currently working and you have a stable account, this is one of the most important programs to have because you can actually have your paycheck be directly deposited into your stable account, which is the most efficient way to get those funds in there. You don't have to worry about, okay, I need to be under limit for my SSI. Let me transfer funds from this bank account to this bank account. Obviously, a lot of folks that are doing that, but it is a great way to really encourage that direct deposit piece. And when we work with employers, that's another way that they can advocate for our program. We know that there's a lot of people with disabilities and medical conditions that need to work. They should absolutely be in this community. And we love to highlight some of those employers within the great state of Ohio. And we know a lot of those employers as well. We do a lot of work with opportunities for Ohioans with disabilities. They're one of the biggest state agencies that they have a whole department just devoted to matching people to jobs. So they actually have our flyer and our information when they're working with their adults, which is awesome. So like I said, I'm not going to focus too much on this slide when we talk about employer, but just know that this is a really great program because if you're working and you have a stable account, you can contribute a lot more each year, which we'll talk about very soon. All right, so who can have a stable account? So as of this year, the able age increase is finally official. The able age increased from 26 to 46, meaning that if your condition was onset, we use the word onset, that's a diagnosis, that is a condition occurred before you turn 26, then you can have a stable account. But now it is up to 46. So that is the able age adjustment that went into effect finally January 1st, 2026. It was passed in 2022. It took 4 years for it to get here. So we're really excited about that because as we are advancing our outreach, we know that there are a lot of individuals who might look at this program and think, oh, well, that's for people that are severely disabled or they have a developmental disability. And that's just not the case. We really want to make sure that people that have medical conditions can also take advantage of this program and savings because sometimes medical conditions like MS, cancer, even a traumatic brain injury could push you into being on short-term disability or long-term disability. And if you're on those types of benefits, you have to be really careful of your savings. So we want to make sure that we're, enhancing our messaging and really making it very simple yet significant and making sure that new individuals are aware of our program and our benefits as well. We're doing a lot of outreach to disabled veterans as well because they have a whole different type of benefits that they are on potentially. But in addition to that, we also want to encourage that if you have the first piece of eligibility, which is, did your condition develop before you turn 46? If the answer to that is yes, great. Plus, are you eligible to receive those benefits? So you currently do not have to be receiving benefits to have a stable account or an able account in another state. It's just, are you eligible to receive those benefits? So if you fit those two pieces, then you are eligible to have a stable account. We do not require any doctor notes, any type of medical condition documents to be sent in. We have a pretty simple eligibility quiz on our website as well. And then when you go through enrollments, usually I'll show some enrollment slides, but just for time, I'm not going to be able to get to that. But when you get to enrollments, there's going to be a section of sort of what's your disability code? Is it developmental? Is it deaf and hard of hearing? Is it blindness? Is it even mental health? Is it related to an injury? So there's kind of different coding, but just know that it's very broad for a reason because we want to make sure that individuals are making that decision themselves. And then for enrollment, as I mentioned, we love to see the person that's eligible be able to open the account themselves. In the event that they're unable to, or they're under the age of 18, like Ruthie, they would need an authorized legal representative to open the account for them. So this is sort of a list of people that we have seen that are able to open and manage this financial account for somebody else. Obviously, parents, guardians, a spouse are, legal guardians, sometimes can also be a parent or a family member as well. But we also do work with organizations across the state as well. And usually when we're working with organizations, those are sort of like the group home settings, the ICF settings, even Social Security representative payees can manage stable accounts on behalf of individuals as well. So we've done some work with the Social Security Administration. But in Ohio, there are a lot of great organizations and group homes and ICF settings that take care of individuals with disabilities and other capacities. And if they're receiving benefits and managing benefits for people, then it's really important that they know about our program. So we've done outreach to a lot of those organizations in Ohio as well. And for enrollment, obviously, if you're opening the account for somebody else, you want to make sure that you have their personal information. It will ask you your personal information to verify your identity, just like any bank account will. And then it will also ask you information about the person that is eligible. The person that's eligible is always a beneficiary on the account. It's just that the ALR would have access. They'll have the login, they can make contributions, and they can make payments on behalf of the person that's eligible in the event that the person that's eligible is not able to manage their own finances. So we want to make sure that our ALR process is efficient, it's easy to use, and we're really proud of the work we put into our online platform. And we also have 2 apps and make it just really simple to manage and view different features of the online management as well. We do not have a physical location to open accounts. We encourage online enrollment. Everything can be done online. You can create an account, you can view your account, you can transfer funds, you can view contributions, you can view your investment options on our easy to use and very accessibly friendly website. And then also, if you are somebody that would prefer to not use the online process, we can, of course, help you over the phone. We also have a paper enrollment process. And if you do the paper enrollment process, it does take a little bit longer because you're mailing, forms in or faxing forms in. But if you were doing the online enrollment process and you have all the right information to verify your identity, it can take less than 15 minutes. I have sat with people before and I'm blown away by how efficient it is, we love to see that. So, and then in addition to enrollment, 2 years ago, we launched our enrollment incentive. So most ABLE plans across the country require at least $25 to get the account going. Stable accounts, as of January 1st, 2026, now gives you back your $25 in any state that you open the account, which is awesome. 2 years ago, it was just for Ohioans, but we were able to extend that enrollment incentive to anyone across the country, which is awesome. We're the only plan that's doing that. I've worked with people before where they're getting through enrollment and then it gets to the point where you link a bank account to make that first deposit and they're like, I can't do it. So how great is it that now we can give that money back and make it more easy for people to, make their first deposit. You can obviously deposit more. It's just that most plans require the first $25. All right, here is the most important piece of the whole slide deck. This is how much money can be contributed into your stable accounts. So this is not just unique to our program. This is the contribution limits for all ABLE plans across the country. It is sort of determined each year by the IRS. So the contribution limits do go up a little bit, usually by $1,000 or $1,500 each year. So the general contribution limit for this year is $20,000 from all sources. So if I'm a parent and my daughter has a stable account and I decide, tomorrow's the day, I'm going to open an account for her. And throughout this year, I can contribute up to $20,000 into her account. It resets every year. So we have folks in our program that have over $200,000 in their stable account because they obviously opened their account almost 10 years ago and they're maxing out. Their earnings are doing very well, which is incredible to see. But that is the general contribution limit. That's just what you can contribute each year. And next year, we're probably going to see that go up just a little bit. If the account holder, the beneficiary, is employed, they can contribute $20,000 from their earnings or from mom and dad or from any other types of sources that are established in another bank account. But they can also contribute an additional $15,650 from their earnings. So that is where that piece of employment comes into. And that is why when we are doing our outreach, we want to make sure that employers and account holders and their families know that if you are trying to work and you are on Medicaid or you're on SSI and you're being told that you are not allowed to make so much more because you don't want to lose your Medicaid, please know that you can absolutely make a lot more money each year as long as those contributions are going into your stable accounts. Medicaid does sometimes require you to disclose your contributions into a stable account, but if you've got $50,000 in your stable account, Medicaid is not going to cut you off. That is not how that works. Same with SSI. As long as those contributions are made into a stable account, your stable account balance will not impact your eligibility for Medicaid or SSI. We've also been told that, well, this is sort of a kind of a rule within SSI, but if you do receive SSI and your stable account balance exceeds $100,000, your benefits could be suspended for the following month in the event that they would, like to see you bring that balance down. As soon as your balance is brought down, that's when your SSI payments would be reinstated. Medicaid does not have that same type of rule. We've been asked that a lot. I don't know if that's just misinformation, but Medicaid, we have a great relationship with Medicaid. They know about the program. And I know that sometimes for reinstatements each year, Medicaid might ask about, okay, what's your assets? If you've got a stable account and you've got money in your stable account, please don't think that you are going to lose your Medicaid if you disclose your balance. There is the encouragement that you should disclose your balance in your stable accounts, and contributions in your stable account do not count against the Medicaid. That's why this program exists. So those are kind of the two big pieces for contributions as well. And then in terms of just, wages and earnings, we kind of encourage the account holder to, talk to somebody at Medicaid to ensure that you are understanding sort of the process with that. We know Medicaid, I know Nicole can probably speak to this too, is that Medicaid is a phenomenal agency. They do a lot of support and a lot of education and partnerships with other state agencies, but they have different types of programs. They have Medicaid buy-in, they have waivers. And so it does get a little complex sometimes. So we like to just say, if you do receive Medicaid, don't be so worried about disclosing, your balance, because any contributions each year, no matter the balance in your stable account, do not count against your eligibility for Medicaid. So, and then also for the contributions of balance, there is a lifetime balance limit of, I think it's over $550,000. So that is the balance limit. We haven't had anybody reach that balance limit just yet, but that is just the total balance for the year. So that does go up a little bit as well. And then funding your accounts. There are a couple different ways that you can contribute into your stable account. So this is for the individual. If you are, like I said, if you are working, then you have the ability to be able to contribute a lot more money into your stable account as well. I mentioned the gifting feature as well. And then if you do have an external bank account elsewhere, you can transfer funds into your stable account through the EFT process. When you log into your stable account portal, there's an opportunity for you to add different bank accounts. And so that's very similar to what you might see on like your Huntington, your PNC app. So we've made it very simple to, add those types of bank accounts for transfers. So if you're a mom or a dad and you want to start transferring funds into your child's stable account, you can do it that way, but you can also do it through our gifting feature as well. I'm going to go back to this slide as well, because I'm going to talk about spending just a little bit. So as soon as the funds are in your stable accounts, there are a couple different ways to spend out of the accounts. So just right when you link your bank account to make contributions, you can transfer money out of the account into an external bank account. You can also pay bills with a third-party check, and you can also make daily expenses with our Visa card. So our debit card is the most efficient way to have the opportunity to spend for daily expenses. So it is a loadable card. We have a great app that links to it as well. So if you have, if you're looking at the next month for different expenses and, you want to transfer funds to your debit card, that is the most efficient and safest way to use those funds on day-to-day expenses. You can link it to your Amazon, you can link it to your Uber, you can swipe it in the store as well. So we really wanted to kind of think about different ways of how our community are using these funds. And so we've got a lot of families that are kind of using these accounts for long-term savings, but in the event that our ambassadors want to use it on day-to-day expenses, this is the best way to do that. So we're really excited to share that. The app is optional. You would download the app and then be able to link the card that way. And then also we do have an app for the program as well. I don't have a picture of it, but this is another great way that you can also track expenses. And then spending the funds also for day-to-day expenses, we really like to say that the funds should always be used on what's called a qualified disability expense. So it must relate to the disability or help maintain or improve the health, independence, or quality of life. So if you have a stable account and you are thinking, okay, I've got this great debit card, I'm traveling, what can I use it on? You can use it on travel, you can use it on Uber, you can, swipe it in the store as well. But a lot of our account holders are also saving for long-term goals. Nate is one of our ambassadors. He actually is an employee at the Ohio Department of Developmental Disabilities. And he is somebody who saved up for a wheelchair accessible van, which is actually in the background of that picture. So he is one of our ambassadors. He's incredible. He can speak about this program so much as well. But a lot of our account holders are able to save up for long-term expenses as well, which really helps with that financial empowerment piece. Obviously, you can use it on medical expenses, education, health and wellness, rent, daily expenses, even online bill pay. You can link your debit card to pay, different types of daily expenses as well. So it's very broad for a reason. And we want to encourage our community to understand that this is a program that can really fit different types of short-term and long-term savings goals as well. All right. I don't know if there's any questions so far, Nicole, but we can maybe take a break here.
There's one question in the Q&A that says, which bank is the custodian of the stable account?
That is a good question. So when you go to your stable account website, if anyone that currently has a stable account, or you're going to stableaccount.com and you go through the enrollment process, we use an account manager called Bestwell State Savings. So they are our account manager of the website, the online portal, the app, the enrollment process. Our call center is through them as well. They're incredible. We also have an online Q&A, and they use the Bank of New York for the management of the funds. And I'm going to actually end on the slide about the investments piece, just because that's where we get some questions. So I was wanting to see if we need Q&A. But when you go to open your stable account and you make your first contribution, it will ask you how you want to disperse your funds. So we have 5 different options of the funds. So the first option that we speak about a lot is our stable savings option. It is FDI insured. It is set up very, very simple, like a savings account option. So about 75% of our account holders have all of their funds in the stable savings option, if you want to treat that as sort of a typical savings account. We also have 4 different mutual funds as well. So this is sort of a really great visual of sort of how those funds are kind of separated between, moderate to aggressive as well. So when you create your account, every time you make a contribution, you can choose where those funds are going to go. And you can have your funds in different types of investments as well. Being the Ohio Treasurer's Office, we do not give investment advice. We encourage our families, our communities, our account holders to go to our website. There's a lot of great information about those investments. And sort of those performances and different, descriptions on them. This is just a slide that we love to share just because I think it's a great visual of sort of how the funds are, dispersed if you decide to do the investment options as well. But as I mentioned, that 75% of our account holders have all of their funds in the stable savings options, because that is where the FDI insure comes in. And most folks have a savings account or a checking account on, in a different bank. So that's how they can use different, transfers that way. I think I saw a question come up potentially.
Yeah, there's a couple questions, Alaina.
Okay.
So this one here is, can you contribute funds from your Social Security disability income?
Yes, you can. That is a great question. So if you currently receive SSI, so if you get SSI every month, usually I believe that's through direct deposit. And I think most people can have it direct deposited into your bank account, or you can have your SSI funds go to, I think it's called, is it like the SSI direct deposit card? I think SSA like Express Direct maybe. It's like a loadable debit card, but if you do receive SSI funds every single month, you can actually have those funds go into your stable account. So that would be done through our direct deposit piece as well. So if you have an established stable account, you would go into your portal, you would add a direct deposit. It's a little button, and then you could link your either direct deposit from employment, or you could also link it to your SSI direct deposit, which is a really great feature that we launched 2 years ago.
Okay, and then the next one is, what happens to the funds when the beneficiary passes?
Great question. All right, so if you currently have a stable account and you pass away, that stable account will go to your estate. What happens after that is sort of up to how the estate was created, if there's a will. The most important thing that I want to talk about, though, is that last July, our office was able to pass legislation that protected the funds in the account from Medicaid estate recovery. So if you currently are receiving Medicaid during the time that you have a stable account opened, let's say that you have $10,000 in your stable account and you contributed for 5 years during the time that the account was opened, and you're also receiving Medicaid and you pass away, previously up to July, Medicaid could put a claim on your account and your estate. So if they're putting a claim on your estate, then they're going to also have stable account be part of that. As of July, we no longer have Medicaid estate recovery for our program, which is huge. That is, I think we are the 21st state to pass legislation for Medicaid estate recovery. So if you aren't receiving Medicaid at any time during your contributions, then you don't have to worry about that anyways. But then those funds, knowing that they don't have to go back to Medicaid, would then just go to your estates. Currently, when somebody opens a stable account, you can only assign a beneficiary on the account to somebody that is also eligible, and they can only be your sibling. That is not just specific to our program. That is an ABLE plan nationally. That is a rule. We have thought about different ways to maybe change that, what that would look like in the state of Ohio, but currently you cannot add a beneficiary to the account while the account is open unless the person is eligible and they are your sibling. So then upon death, the funds would then go to the estate, and then they would go through probate court based on if there was a will or if there was a next of kin and kind of that process. So it would just be dispersed back to the estate.
Okay. Oh, so that question, sorry, there was another one that kind of already answered that one. What is an example of an expense it cannot be used for?
So we do encourage, so all of the funds in the stable account, as I mentioned, we always love to use the word beneficiary. So if you have funds in your stable account, the funds should always be used on the person that's eligible. So in an event that the funds are misused or there was an expense that was not for the beneficiary, that's where that penalty could come into. We always encourage, obviously, the funds to be used the right way. But in the event that somebody is audited and the IRS sees that a transaction might not have been a qualified disability expense, and there could be a 10% penalty on that specific transaction. Across all ABLE plans within our community, we have not heard of that ever happening. But in the event that that does, that's where that penalty would come in. So we just like to encourage that, yes, the funds should always be used on the person that is eligible and they're the beneficiary as well.
Okay, this next one is, could you explain again regarding SSI and if it reached, I think it's 100,000?
The $100,000 balance rule. Yeah, absolutely. So Social Security Administration, they are the ones that established the rule that if an able account's balance exceeds $100,000, there is potential that your monthly benefits would be suspended for the following month. So if my daughter's stable account is at $100,000 and she receives SSI each month, there is a potential that the next month her benefits would be suspended for that SSI payment. As soon as you bring your balance down below $100,000, your SSI benefits would be reinstated. And that is not just for stable account. That is a national rule from the Social Security Administration for all ABLE plans. And Medicaid does not have that same rule. So if you have $110,000 in your stable account, Medicaid will not look at that balance and suspend your benefits. That is just an SSI, Social Security Administration rule.
Okay, I think we're all caught up on questions.
Awesome. Okay. Well, if there's any other questions, you can absolutely put them in the chat. I just wanted to skip through that investment slide just because I know sometimes we get a lot of questions. And then I also wanted to end on another part of our legislation this summer that we were really excited and proud of outside from the Medicaid estate recovery, because that one was huge. I mean, that was something that I know we really put a lot of time and effort into and wanted to always, give back to the program. So we've been excited to share that, and a lot of our community partners were excited to hear that as well. In addition to that, we also lowered our fees. So for Ohio residents, it is $0 per year to have a stable account. And you get $25 when you open an account, which is awesome. And then to add on the debit card or loadable debit card, there is no cost associated with having the debit card. So it is a very, very, very low cost program, which is how we feel it should be. So we're excited that we got to pass that legislation as well. And then I'll leave this slide up. This is our website as well. I know I mentioned it so many times throughout the presentation, but this is the best place if you can also view some of those ambassador stories that I shared, Ruthie and Kyle and some other folks as well in our community. And then it's another great place if you can learn about the investment options. We do have a lot of great information about benefits that we were able to publish as well. And then we also want to just, encourage the online enrollment. It is such an efficient process. I've been able to help some folks open accounts. There's that light again. And we want to make sure that in the event that you're not able to use the computer or your phone, obviously we do have a paper enrollment process as well. But any other questions, you're more than welcome to send those to Nicole. She can link up with me, and we want to be a resource to all of you moving forward. So thank you so much. And I can leave this up here and then, kind of open it up to some Q&A as well.